If you want to radically transform your life and take your health to the next level, click on my Breath is Life course below. This will optimize your breath as well as your meditation. And I'll see you after the video. Hey guys, Troy Casey, Certified Health Nut, here with my man Seth of Living Nuts. I've had these nuts for the last couple of years. You guys sent me out some. Very delicious, organic, sprouted, meaning the phytic acids are taken off of them, so they're actually digestible for you. People think nuts are a big health food, but a lot of people can't digest them, and so he sprouts them to activate the phytic acids so they become more bioavailable for you. I totally promote this product. If you can find it in your neck of the woods, go for it. Otherwise, request this product, and you can buy it off your website, right?
Yep.
But more importantly, Seth is a brother and he's been through a lot of trials and tribulations. And so to offer you guys more information on fun, freedom, and phenomenon, he's going to tell you his prison story and also his business success story and what he's doing in the world to change the world or make the world a better place, ultimately. Freedom for all. And so Seth, without further ado, can you tell the people your story and where you're at? He just wrote a book, and so all the links will be in the description box below for the nuts and his book. And so Seth, tell us a little bit about your heart-wrenching, heart-warming prison story.
Thank you so much for having me on here, Troy. I really appreciate it. And I am somebody that really is no different than anybody else. But I've spent countless hours contemplating why I exist, what my purpose is, and have made an internal declaration with myself to live in a way that is completely in alignment with natural law, with things as they truly are, not as I think they are, and not as they appear to be. And that has set me on a course where I've experienced what I call initiations, which everybody experiences setbacks or
whether they recognize them or not.
They're all there.
They
it's
are
always there.
Initiations or catalysts for our own growth, or as my astrologer Scott Jarian likes to say, our biggest challenges are the keys to our gifts.
And a lot of what happens, like when these things happen, they're hardcore, they suck, we automatically go into victim mode. We feel like, why me? How come this is happening to me? Instead of, okay, this is happening for me, not to me. And so when we can get out of that victim mentality and trust in the intrinsic nature of why this is happening to us, then we can move beyond the circumstances of the conditions that are affecting us or that we perceive to be affecting us negatively, and we can catalyze that.
Yes. A key word.
And we can catalyze it into something that becomes very empowering. Now, that says it sounds easier said than done, but it's something that if we just keep revisiting over and over again, we can recondition ourselves to perceive things in coherence with the energy that is causing our heart to beat, that's allowing thoughts to arise in our mind, that is literally animating our physical body, and condition ourselves to identify with that instead of the conditioning of our past that keeps us enslaved to this quote-unquote 3D world and our own human identity. And on the other side of that is nothing but liberation. And everybody can do it. And in fact, in many ways, we all have to do that.
The energy that's here on the planet right now. This is the quantum leap, baby.
This is it. And so it doesn't feel comfortable, right? Like I was severely addicted to heroin. I went through a lot of really, really hardcore things that when they were happening, I did not think I was going to live through. I overdosed a bunch of times, just really serious, deadly types of things. But I made it through. That was 22 years ago. And I started pursuing a path of health and wellness. And I noticed that I had never addressed the underlying root issues of what would cause me to become an addict in the first place. And I was unconsciously, quote unquote, sabotaging myself and making decisions that were setting me up for greater initiations, because ultimately my internal declaration to overcome my own conditioning was so much stronger and greater than my proclivity, you could say, than my unconscious need to keep repeating the same perceptual patterns over and over again. And so, like a superhero, like all of us, we all have this in us. I just resolutely decided that I'm going to face whatever it is in my path until I break through to the other side, because on that other side is what we really are. Not who we are, it's what we are. And we begin to know that by how incoherent our heart and brain are, which we can all get into a coherent heart-brain coherent state. Then the rest of our organs get online with that. And then suddenly we're feeling like this body is a party. It's literally a place for our growth, our evolution, our well-being. And when we get back into that, we start to feel a lot more like the energy field that we are, that's animating our being, instead of this suffering, sick, stuck human being that so many feel right now.
And it's been said that the heart is 5,000 times the strength electromagnetically than the brain. Energy in motion is emotion. Emotion is what drives behavior. A lot of our emotions are directly related to the trauma that we had as children. You're talking about self-sabotage. That is the limbic system. When we are traumatized in the real world, in the present moment, from either perception or reality, we block off the frontal lobes and we go into the limbic system, or the reptilian survive mechanism, and we do the things that we've always done to stay alive, basically. And a lot of those patterns don't serve us anymore. So we can get stuck, and the world is always presenting ways for us to grow through that. And so my wife practices hypnosis and studied all of our conditioning and the childhood traumas, etc. And so it's in us, and it can be alleviated. Obviously, psychedelics are handy. They're not legal in the United States, but you can find practitioners in Mexico and South America, and hypnosis works, prayer works, Vipassana meditation works, prison works.
Prison works, yes, absolutely.
If you don't listen enough, you keep getting that smackdown to awaken you. And being around Seth and his heart right now, these challenges have catalyzed him into a solid brother who I just love and want to be around. And we just met in person, even though the company has sent me the living nuts. So tell him a little bit more about your prison story, and then, into your businesses and the book that you wrote.
So all the things that I just said about heart-brain coherence and this internal declaration to overcome all of my past conditioning was something that I hadn't fully realized how serious those commitments were until things started to get really hard. I had built up a company, I had all this great stuff going for me, but I hadn't really confronted the root causes of what allowed me to spiral down this path of negativity that previous to all this I had been subjected to. And I was doing things that I didn't have to do, but I was doing anyway because they were just part of these old patterns, which was I was selling marijuana. And I got arrested, I got sentenced, I got indicted. I knew I was getting 5 or 10 years in prison sentence, and I got a 5-year sentence. And I went in there as the biggest victim, the biggest mess, just totally falling apart on every single level. Sick, all kinds of health conditions, just feeling like, holy shit, how am I going to get through this? And that's when things get real. And my initial instinct was like, okay, I need to write out my entire life experience so I can look for limiting, self-defeating patterns that are keeping me stuck in this self-imprisoned box of perceptual imprisonment. And sure enough, right away, just writing this stuff out, which writing it out was very cathartic because it's like getting your past out of you, putting it on paper, and then it's on paper and not in you anymore. So that I was doing, and I immediately noticed.
That's a Viktor Frankl move right there, isn't it?
So I did that, and then I immediately realized right away, I'm like, oh my God, I was in a mental and emotional prison for decades before I was physically incarcerated. And it took being physically incarcerated for me to recognize that. Now, fast forward to this pandemic, this whole situation that everybody's in right now, where home confinement and all that, people are starting to feel like they're a lot more incarcerated than they are free. And the reality is, we as individuals have been living in a perceptual prison of our own making.
That's correct.
And projecting that out into the world without even realizing that long before any of this stuff happened. So this stuff had to happen to get our attention so that we could stop being the victims, stop being the ones who are complaining about.
Be the victor.
Be
the
the
victory
victor,
in the
yes.
light, baby. You are the Christ consciousness you are waiting for.
And we all are that. We are that so inside out. We can't be anything but that, because there's an innate intelligence that's causing my heart to beat, that's causing Troy's heart to beat, that's causing your heart to beat. It is animating the entirety of our physical being. But we, us, with our limited intelligence, are focused on all the things around us and giving more credence and validity to those things than the thing that matters most. This energy form, this miraculous source of energy that is causing the heart to beat. When we start to condition ourselves to identify with whatever this ineffable, unimaginable energy is that is animating our physical being, and make that a priority above and beyond all the other things we prioritize in our lives, then suddenly the little bit of intelligence we have starts to augment and expand in alignment with this innate intelligence that we all actually are. And I just kept doing this. I didn't know what I was doing, but I intuitively was like, okay, if I keep focusing on the environment around me, I suffered. But if I kept tuning into this environment inside of me, I felt incredible. So it was just this intuitive thing. Plus, I took all of my sexual energy, which I'm not gay. I love people, love gay people. But in there, I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna have sex. What am I gonna do with all of this sexual energy that's in me? And I began to just intuitively breathe that energy into all the organs and systems of my body while I was calming down, breathing rhythmically, deep rhythmic breaths. And I was SMILE. There's a great acronym for SMILE. It's Start My Internal Love Engine. And I was just smiling and choosing to feel good from the inside out for no reason at all, other than I was choosing to, while I'm bringing this energy up in me, which is in me anyway, but bringing it to different parts of me instead of spilling it out, which we all do unconsciously, while at the same time bringing down this love that I feel for my own body, for my own existence. And something happened. I just kept doing this over and over until I eventually started literally feeling like a heartgasm. And when I felt that, I was like, holy fuck. Because I knew I did it. I knew I did it by, I didn't know how I did it. Yeah, it was just, I didn't know the actual internal mechanisms that were causing all that to happen, but I knew that I intentionally was choosing to focus on an internal elevated state of being and giving more priority to that than all of the conditions around me. And when you're in a prison, you're surrounded by people that you would cross the street to get away from. It is a brutal but perfect learning environment to direct your attention inwards. So I did this over and over and over until my entire energy field changed. And when my heartbeat started giving information to my brain and my brain started giving it back to my heart, then all my other organs came online and synced up to the beat of my heart. I was feeling like the energy field that I truly am, not the human personality that I am as a secondary cause, but I was feeling like this initial energy that I truly am. And I could think and feel and just direct myself in this prison environment in a way that was causing these men who didn't know anything about any of this stuff. There are a lot of inner city guys who we would label as thugs and all that. They would be like, because I got to a point where I was in such a state of self-love and trust, and I could sustain it, because if I wasn't sustaining it, I became aware of the past unconditioned thoughts, beliefs, feelings, behaviors, and actions that I had intentionally chosen to recondition myself to. So I conditioned myself to a new state of being. And every time that I would come out of that, I would come out of those highly elevated states, it was because of that past conditioning. And so I would get better and better at catching it, to the point where I was just sustaining these states. And my energy field went crazy. It went crazy, like literally just living in this like bliss, heaven on earth thing in a prison. And these guys who didn't know anything.
So we got cut off, but what I'm understanding is basically you figured out the Zen master path, or what the Taoist figured out 5,000 years ago. You did the microcosmic orbit. First of all, energy goes where attention flows. So if you want to tap into the energy of the heart, just go to your heart, energetically think about your heart, put your energy here, and that will activate it first and foremost. And then you were bringing it through your organs, and you were channeling it through your body, and that inner smile, which is the essence of the Zen master, who is happy and in the face of whatever, bad or good, and he's not trying to change it. He's dealing with what is, which is also in alignment with my meditation teacher, S.N. Goenka. You meditate on what is, not as you'd like it to be. And so kudos to you, my friend, for finding your own enlightenment in hell. And that seems to be the journey. I think the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying says, how do you know the heights of joy if you don't know the depths of pain and fear? And so I really applaud you, and I want everybody to do business with this man. So where can they find information on Living Nuts and your book?
livingnuts.com is where you can find these. And I have a website, a blog called I'mAwakeNowWhat.com, where I wrote a book called The Fight to Enlighten. It's a memoir written in an objective tone. It's like a medicine story, and I never intended to put this book out in the public because it's so vulnerable, but I realized the healing effect that it was having, because I don't care. I say all, I spill all in a way that is breaking down social stigmas and barriers, and it's giving people the ability to face their own drama, karma, fear, all of that, and overcome it, because this is the time. We as individuals and collectively as a species are being called to step up and really embody what we've always been, which is I'm not Seth,
divinity,
Troy,
the sum total of the all.
That's what really, and when that becomes a priority, then who we are becomes influenced by that. And suddenly we love each other. We want to promote each other. We don't want to compete with each other. We want all who are living in alignment with natural law to be supported equally, instead of this conditioned laws of man that are causing so much pain and suffering.
We are not equal. We are complementary opposites, men and women. We are all unique gifts. We all have our gift to give.
It's for real, people. It is for real. And I'll just say real quick too, because before we got cut off, when I was in these states and I was cultivating them, these men in prison changed as a result of me being in that field, because I got into it. I was not coming out of it, because it's like, this is all that's real. And I wasn't gonna fool myself anymore. And fooling ourselves comes from the past. And they would be like, what is this? Like, what is this, man? Like, how do you, like, and bit by bit, men that you would never think would care about this, they begin to feel it. And I told them,
were you teaching in prison?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's not mine. It's not yours. It's all of ours. It is what we are. It is the energy that is beating our heart. And so when we take that hierarchy out of it and we put the equality back into it, we can help others in a selfless way, because the laws of nature are cooperation, not competition.
That's correct. 100%. And so this coronavirus pandemic, this is just part of the quantum leap in human consciousness. Peace on earth is coming. We are realizing that heaven on earth is already here. I don't know if you guys can see this. We are in Sedona, Arizona. I live here because those stone Buddhas wake me up every day and remind me of my divinity, of our divinity, and the gift it is to live here on earth. And so let's create peace on earth together. It's coming, whether you like it or not. Be honest with yourself, go deeper. The invitation is always to go deeper. And so, final parting words.
Thank you for just showing up. And if I can do it, anybody can do it, because this is all there is anyway. So be honest with yourself, be true. Don't feel like you need to take dramatic steps in order to make this happen. Just take consistent ones every day and it'll happen on its own.
Be present with what is. Website again.
I'mAwakeNowWhat.com and livingnuts.com.
God bless all you psycho chickens out in cyberspace.